On June 13th, the U.S. Secretary of Defense declared that the U.S. would use force to secure control of Greenland and the Panama Canal if necessary. This bold statement reignited global attention on the $23 billion sale of 43 international ports by CK Hutchison Holdings, led by billionaire Li Ka-shing. At the heart of the controversy are two key ports in the strategically vital Panama Canal, a move that has put Li in direct conflict with Xi Jinping's regime. Li recently provoked Beijing further by stating the port sale is entirely legal. Caught between mounting pressure from both Washington and Beijing, it is nearly impossible to satisfy all sides. China is determined to maintain its influence in Panama, while Trump views regaining control of the canal as a matter of national security. Even with his signature diplomatic finesse, Li may not be able to engineer a win-win outcome this time. So where is this headed? Will Li Ka-shing prevail, or Xi Jinping? The Panama deal, a geopolitical hotspot. Back on January 7th, during a press conference at Mar-a-Lago, Trump declared, "The Panama Canal is critically important to the United States. Right now, it's being operated by China, the CCP. We handed it over to Panama, not China." He criticized President Carter's decision to transfer control of the canal, arguing that Panama keeps asking the U.S. for money while giving nothing in return. That will no longer continue, Trump warned. In March, CK Hutchison announced plans to sell its 43 non-China ports to a consortium led by Terminal Investment Limited, TIL, under MSC, and Global Infrastructure Partners, GIP, backed by BlackRock. Under the deal, GIP would control 2 ports in Panama. Beijing responded with outrage. Xi's administration accused Li Ka-shing of selling out the people's interests and launched an antitrust investigation. Why such strong resistance? Because Xi's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, aims to build a global trade network under Chinese influence. Of the 43 ports up for sale, 12 are strategically located along BRI trade routes, touching $800 billion in commerce across ASEAN, Latin America, and beyond. As long as those ports remained under Li, viewed by Beijing as a semi-insider, there was little risk of disruptions or inflated costs. But in American hands, that poses a serious threat. With Trump's aggressive stance, it's not unthinkable that he could block Chinese ships from transiting the Panama Canal. What then? This scenario explains why Xi is determined to stop the deal at all costs. Facing pressure from both Washington and Beijing, key stakeholders met with China's State Administration for Market Regulation, SAMR, in early June. According to Epoch Times, the meeting took place just before the Western Consortium formally submitted its merger application, aiming to preemptively secure China's approval. CK Hutchison and U.S. partners are now negotiating potential changes to the deal's structure to meet both Chinese regulatory requirements and U.S. political sensitivities. Rumors suggest CK Hutchison may delay the Panama port sale or bring in additional investors like China's COSCO Shipping or Dubai-based DP World to ease political risk. A senior COSCO executive previously said the company is open to options that align with national development strategy. Still, the deal faces major hurdles. Analyst Dan Baker of Morningstar warned that without Beijing's approval to break the deal into smaller parts, the entire plan may collapse. Meanwhile, CK Hutchison is under increasing scrutiny from the Panamanian government, which is auditing its port contracts. The company's 25-year exclusive operating rights were only renewed in 2021. One insider summed up the situation: CK Hutchison won't move forward with the Panama deal until the political issues are resolved. Li Ka-shing, a thorn in Xi Jinping's side. Li Ka-shing has long been a source of frustration for Beijing, and this isn't the first time he's upset the Chinese Communist Party. In 2012, after Xi Jinping came to power, China began tightening its grip on Hong Kong. By 2014, Xi asserted that Hong Kong's autonomy exists only with the central government's permission. Sensing growing instability, Li began moving his assets out of China. In 2015, he started selling off major holdings in both mainland China and Hong Kong, while re-registering his company in the British-controlled Cayman Islands, a move that infuriated Beijing. A think tank linked to Xinhua even published an article titled, "Don't Let Li Ka-shing Run Away." Still, Li responded diplomatically, affirming support for the central government while adding, My company always seeks global investment opportunities, including in mainland China. Between 2015 and 2018, he sold over $250 billion worth of assets, including high-profile properties like the Oriental Financial Center in Shanghai and Central Plaza in Hong Kong. At the same time, he shifted focus to Europe, especially the UK, investing heavily in ports, telecommunications, and utilities. In 2019, he spent £4.6 billion to acquire Green King, the UK's largest pub chain. Despite Beijing's displeasure, there's little it can do to directly pressure Li. He holds Canadian citizenship. His company is registered in the UK. The ports he's selling aren't located in China. The buyers have no ties to the Chinese government. Still, Xi Jinping hasn't backed down. China is applying pressure where it can, leveraging the fact that the Li family still holds some assets in mainland China, using that as a bargaining chip to bring him in line. Why does Xi Jinping hate Li Ka-shing? Xi Jinping, driven by his vision of a unified China under absolute CCP control, cannot tolerate individuals or entities beyond his grasp. Unlike mainland tycoons like Jack Ma, easily targeted by Beijing, Li Ka-shing operates beyond China's legal reach, making him much harder to rein in. This conflict is also personal. Li symbolizes a free, independent Hong Kong, something Xi is determined to erase. Li's withdrawal of capital from China, his 2019 call for peace during the extradition bill protests, and now the sale of key Panama ports are seen by Beijing as subtle acts of defiance. A Hong Kong source even claimed Xi once called Li an opportunist who walks the tightrope between Beijing and the West for personal gain. Yet Li is not confrontational by nature. During the height of the 2019 protests, he ran 2 full-page newspaper ads. One urged protesters to avoid violence. Even the best goals can lead to the worst outcomes. The other, addressed to the Hong Kong government, carried the headline, "Why pluck a melon hanging on a golden trellis?" This phrase refers to an old Chinese parable, popularized during the rule of Empress Wu Zetian, who ruthlessly eliminated even her own sons to secure power. One of them, Li Xian, exiled and later killed, left a poem lamenting the coldness of royal politics. Planting melons under the golden trellis, the fruit ripens and falls. Pick it once, it grows stronger. Pick again, it weakens. Pick a third time, perhaps. But pick them all, and nothing remains. Li Ka-shing used this metaphor to warn against the complete suppression of Hong Kong protesters. His message: if you destroy the vine, no one wins, not even the state. This melon-picking theory reflects Li's belief in pragmatic, non-confrontational leadership. Yet with Beijing growing increasingly aggressive, he appears to have taken a stand for business autonomy. At 97, Li Ka-shing may be thinking about legacy, shielding CK Hutchison from CCP influence and solidifying its global standing could be his way of ensuring the survival of his empire, even if it means openly challenging Xi. Recently, whispers from overseas Chinese circles suggest Xi Jinping's grip on power may be weakening. Rumors of internal CCP unrest and odd public appearances, like Xi visiting a Henan temple, reportedly to pray for peace amid political pressure, have only fueled speculation. One source from China's elite Red Second Generation even claimed Xi is standing on the edge of a volcano, with a real risk of internal coup. Though unverified, such rumors provide a revealing backdrop to the Panama deal. With Xi facing mounting internal and global pressure, his ability to control figures like Li Ka-shing may be slipping. And that may be exactly the opening Li needs to accelerate his de-China strategy. Could Li Ka-shing and Ho Ching join forces against Xi Jinping? Li Ka-shing and Ho Ching, the wife of former Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, have maintained a cordial relationship for many years. While Ho Ching has not publicly commented on the pressure Li Ka-shing is currently facing from Beijing, her recent sharing of posts and images criticizing Xi Jinping as a gangster came at the height of Li's confrontation with the CCP. This move appeared to be a subtle jab at Xi, and a form of indirect support for Li during his political storm. Some observers speculate that Li and Ho may have past connections to the Jiang Zemin political faction. However, Jiang's passing, along with the fading influence of his once notorious, corrupt family empire, means any remaining support for Li or Ho within the Communist Party likely comes from other senior retired leaders, such as Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, Li Ruihuan, Zhu Rongji, or even Wang Qishan. Li Ka-shing is one of the rare Hong Kong businessmen who has engaged directly with 4 generations of CCP leadership: Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and Xi Jinping. Deng famously promised 50 years of no change in Hong Kong to reassure the business elite, a promise Xi has since broken. This context adds deeper meaning to Li's now famous remark: "Why pluck a melon hanging on a golden trellis?" Although Xi once shared a symbolic 13-second handshake with Li, interpreted at the time as a sign of mutual respect, Li quickly understood Xi's character. Their relationship dates back to 1993, when Xi, then party secretary of Fuzhou, invited Li to invest via his father Xi Jinping. Li backed a major redevelopment project, but the partnership fell apart. When Xi was promoted to Zhejiang, Fuzhou authorities swiftly revoked Li's land rights and ended the deal. In the 2012 Hong Kong chief executive election, Xi expected Li to endorse Leung Chun-ying, but Li publicly backed Henry Tang, straining their relationship. After Xi became general secretary, Li's requests for meetings were quietly ignored. Li is no ordinary businessman. He deeply understands the nuances of Chinese political culture. He knows Xi can be petty, volatile, and ruthless. Trapped between rising US-China tensions, Li also recognizes that he could easily become collateral damage. The sale of CK Hutchison's overseas ports was a carefully calculated strategic retreat. With his keen instincts and ability to foresee business and political crises, Li likely senses the CCP under Xi is in turmoil, what some would call a crumbling tower. That perception, rooted in self-preservation, may explain why he has chosen to push back despite mounting pressure from Beijing. As for Ho Ching, her recent public criticism of Xi is especially notable given Singapore's historically close ties to the CCP. Her willingness to speak out suggests she's no longer afraid of retaliation. One likely reason: internal power struggles within the CCP may have left Xi weakened. With key allies sidelined and Xi facing growing accountability for failed policies, rumors swirl that he may come under serious scrutiny at the upcoming 4th plenum. That political backdrop likely emboldened Ho to speak freely. A source close to Singapore's political circles revealed that as chair of Temasek, Ho Ching oversaw major investments in China, many of which have incurred steep losses in recent years. Resentment toward Xi would be understandable, but more significantly, her position likely gives her access to sensitive intelligence. She may already know enough to believe Xi's retaliation is no longer something to fear. Given the stature of both Li Ka-shing and Ho Ching, their resistance, or at least lack of fear, sends a clear message to the world: a growing disdain for Xi Jinping and the CCP's authoritarian grip. So what do you think about this quiet but mounting confrontation between Xi Jinping and Li Ka-shing? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching. See you next time.